Right, thank you, members. We'll reconvene with agenda item 7, please. And I'll thank Zoe to introduce it for us.
No, you said item 7, so we're doing the discretionary rate relief policy first. Discretionary rate relief can be awarded to businesses that are either charities, non-profit making organisations or community amateur sports clubs. The discretionary rate relief policy was reviewed in the summer of 2024 to ensure that it is reflective of the current third sector organisations providing services in the area. A consultation was carried out for a 6-week period up to the 31st of October 24. This report sets out the reasons for having a discretionary rate relief policy and the outcome of the consultation. The Local Government Finance Act 1988 and the Localism Act 2011 require the Council to grant discretionary relief to premises occupied by charities or to organisations that are non-profit making. When designing a policy, the Council needs to consider whether the granting of the relief would be of a benefit to the local community. There is also a need to consider the interest of the Council taxpayer when both designing the policy and considering applications. The cost of the scheme for 23-24 can be found in Table 1. There is a risk in not having a policy that there could be applications from non-profit making organisations that provide no benefit to the borough or residents. This could lead to increased costs for council taxpayers without services or facilities being provided. 20 people and or organisations responded. The main points raised were a wish for the council to continue supporting those non-profit making organisations providing support to local communities. There were no suggestions for amendments to the policy. We are therefore recommending to the Policy and Resources Committee that the policy is adopted. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Baldock, please.
Yeah, I fully support this. I think it's the right thing to do. I'm happy to propose it.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Councillor Boyne, thank you. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. So we now move on to item 12, which again is in your capable hands, Zoe, please.
Is that the wall?
Yeah.
Since the late 1980s, councils have been able to put in place a policy to disregard up to 100% of war disablement pensions and war widows pensions. The council approved this disregard at the time and it has been in place since then. As part of the auditing of housing benefit subsidy claims, the Department for Work and Pensions requires evidence that this policy was approved by members. Records from this time are still kept in paper format and it has not been possible to find this evidence. A policy has therefore been written giving details of all war pensions called not war pensions, I will be corrected in a minute, that are covered by the scheme, Army Compensation Fund payments, I think. This can be found in Part 3 of Appendix 1 of the Housing Benefits War Pension Policy. Ex-servicemen who have served our country can often suffer with physical and mental health problems, and this is a way of supporting them. The total cost of disregarding war pensions for 2024-25, 75% of this is met by the DWP and the rest is met by Swale Borough Council, the 25%. I welcome any questions.
Councillor Boyne, please.
Thanks, Chairman. Asked this at the pre-meet, I said I'll mention it again. Fully support this. Wouldn't suggest any necessarily any changes. I wish it could go further. Frankly, I wish it could also include those within the emergency services, the police, NHS and fire service. I know pre-meet you said you couldn't, but I'd ask that question again if there's any way that could be incorporated. Something that's just sprung to mind though, out of interest, in terms of the definition, war disablement pension, does that require for the person to be on active duty in a war zone, for example, back in the day, the Bosnia, or actually whilst they are on duty serving, not necessarily actually in a war zone. So we fortunately, we're not often at times of war, but we have exercises going around all over the world, and incidents and accidents do happen. So what's the definition on that? Would they still be entitled in that instance? Thank you.
Our Armed Forces champion is going to answer that for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they changed the name to the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme because war pensions did give the impression that it was on active service, but it was injury within service. So if you had your foot run over by a tank in the MT yard, then that would count as a war pension. So the second one you said, yes, it covers anything on service, even hearing loss, to a certain degree.
I'm happy to answer your other points. There's lots of compensation schemes that we completely disregard, or for a 52-week period. They're listed within the housing benefit legislation. So if somebody lets us know they've got, for example, a lump sum payment, let's say they've got £50,000 or £200,000 in a bank account or a savings account, and they say that's from a compensation scheme. If it's on the list, we disregard it. There's lots like King's Cross Fire, 7-7, lots of different things.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer, please.
And with that, I was going to actually say that I'm quite happy, and thanks for the consultation, but I'm quite happy to propose this.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second. I haven't changed my mind since I agreed to this the first time round. I believe, just to help you out there, Councillor Ledger was the majority leader of the council at the time this came through. Thank you. I may well have the paper indoors.
No. Thank you. Councillor
I'm
Worcester.
sorry we didn't ask you at the time then. I wouldn't have had to write the report.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask a question. I wholeheartedly support this. But looking at the dates on the report of when this was actually applied, by accepting this, are we leaving the council open to, I think, very legitimate questions of, have we brought this in at the earliest time possible? Could we have done anything else? I think you've answered that in other councillors' questions, to be honest with you. And to make sure, obviously, there are no opportunities for retrospective claims. But I'm absolutely pleased to see this coming forward, so well done. And it's really nice to have Councillor Palmer on the council to be able to have that real input into aspects of armed forces information coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's been proposed by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Harrison. Those in favour? Thank you very much, members. And once again, that's unanimous. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you, Leader. Since April 2024, premiums have been charged on empty properties after the property has been empty for 12 months. From the 1st of April 2025, premiums will be charged on second homes. The government has brought in guidelines for when a premium should not be added to empty properties and second homes. These can be found in Table 1 of the policy. This includes dwellings being actively marketed for sale or for rent for a period of 12 months. Swale currently prohibits premiums on empty properties that are up for sale for an unlimited period. The draft policy has been limited to 12 months in line with the government guidelines. It is hoped this will encourage those people with empty homes or second homes that are not being used to put them up for sale or market them for rent at levels where they will be sold or relet and brought back into use as soon as possible. Criteria have also been put in place for when a property will be classed as uninhabitable to ensure this is not used as a loophole. I welcome any questions.
Councillor Bollock, please.
Yeah, I really welcome the the change about furnished, because I always thought that was a bit of a dodgy loophole. Welcome this. One question is, we do have a number of heritage properties that are frankly being neglected. Obviously, if they're doing work, seriously doing work to improve them, we should acknowledge that. But we do have some that are, well,
Deliberately.
being deliberately, I suspect, allegedly, being allowed to just fall into rack and ruin. Do we charge for 300% on those? Excellent.
Yeah, I'll come back on that. We do charge 300% and 200% after 5 years. The bills sometimes get so high that they just stop paying. We can then decide to put a charge on the property, and we are looking to put charges on some of them, or we can make people bankrupt. We've got lots of rules we can follow and use. What I'd rather do is to speak to Charlotte Hudson, and we will try and get people to work to, you know, get them back into use and possibly sell them if they're not going to do anything with them, and somebody else can carry out the work.
Thank you. And I get where you're coming from, Councillor Baldock, because we've got some outstanding properties out there, which are part of our heritage, that are just been, you know, and whether you say a deliberate or whatever term you use, but it's just apparent that conveniently let into a state of disrepair. Councillor Lehman, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering if my question is still valid after Councillor Baldock's comments. I was just after some clarity on the difference between, because it seems to me that an empty home which is furnished is a second home, and that remains the case. And if someone's got a £2,000 tax bill which becomes a £4,000 or a £6,000 tax bill, obviously it's economically preferable for them to simply buy a load of second-hand furniture and put it in the empty home. Is that something that we can try and stop? I mean, it seems from the numbers that that's probably not a huge risk, but I just was curious as to what we're doing in consideration of that. Thank you.
So, all the time we were just charging a premium on empty properties, we've had to say to people, if it was furnished, it will become a second home. Now they will. So, going forward, if it's going to reverse now. I can see exactly what's going to happen. We're just reviewing the second homes at the moment. If you get any complaints, it will be because of our review. So, previously, if they furnished it, they wouldn't pay the premium. Now, for second homes that are furnished, the premium will kick in from day one. So if it was empty for a year, they won't get a premium. So people may now start removing furniture. I'm hoping that if it's a proper, true second home, and out in some of the villages to the east of Sittingbourne, we have high-banded properties that are second homes, and I presume those people will just come back and say, yeah, it's still a second home. They've probably got a flat up in London they live in during the week, and they may try and reverse it, that the flat in London with a cheaper council tax is their second home. We'll sort that out at the time, but they'll probably be true second homes. I believe a lot of our second homes have been furnished because they're just empty properties people are hanging on to and think, oh, I'll pay one council tax but not two. I think the government hoped, and I'm hoping that we will be able to shake people up a bit, and they will either rent them out or they will sell them, but everyone with this will get a premium if it's not up for sale, and after 12 months it will now go.
Thank you. Apologies, Councillor Harrison. I was tuning into the answer.
There's a few of us here who multitask, women. I was going to ask about empty homes that are probably uninhabitable. I've raised this previously, and I've raised a specific issues where, but the person who was living there is in a care home, but we can't do anything because they might move back in. Yeah, but the ceilings are fell in. They're not going to move back in there, are they? it's dilapidated, it's causing an absolute nuisance. I say it, there are quite a few across the borough. They're causing a nuisance. And the bottom line is we need more homes. So is there anything that we can, and that is where people have gone into a care home. There are also people who've left their home to rack and ruin, moved in with son or daughter, got one of these as well, moved in with son or daughter. They haven't been there for 2 years, and you can tell that, but because you can't actually get to the front door. Yes, well, they are looking at that, and they may be going into a care home. Yeah, but that property has been empty. Now, I know for a fact that somebody told me about a council flat. I would report that. If I thought to myself, oh, you're a council tenant and you're moving in with your son and daughter, I'd be reporting you to the housing association, who would take action to get that property back into use. But where they're privately owned, they seem to say either get away with paying nothing and letting the place go to rack and ruin and causing a nuisance, I'll say that much. Statutory nuisance, actually, rats. Or they're swinging the lead by paying the basic council tax and living with son or daughter or other relatives. And, you know, I'm not mean. Move in for 6 months, fair enough. You broke your leg, you broke your hip, or whatever. But 2-3 years down the line, I think we need to do something. I know we haven't, as a council, got the resources to do as much as we would like on the empty homes scheme, although we have done a few over the years. There was that one in Faversham that you couldn't actually see the property because it was so overgrown. And I said, EDMO, what was that? EDMO. Why don't we slap an EDMO on it? You know, we need to get cuter, because as well as the money, it is the effect on the neighbourhood. Thanks, Chair.
Unfortunately, there is an exemption when people go into care homes, so, you know, that our arms are a bit tied. But I would again speak to Charlotte Hudson, because I think it is, you know, we can force the sale on properties, and that is the sort of time we should be, really, because if somebody's never going to return to a home, there are people out there that would like to do them up, and, you know, they'll be brought back into use as a home. So it's not necessarily then the premiums that are really going to help. It's actually working with the family to get it, you know, so that it's sold. So we'll take that point away anyway.
Thank you. Councillor Bonney, please.
I mean, yeah, on that point, I mean, quite often the people that end up in the care homes and they end up with a house that's a bit of a mess, and that is, for your reference, page 284, item number 5, where we don't take action on those people. It's quite often because there's no alternative power of attorney, so there's no signing rights, but that person isn't compos mentis to sign any legal agreements. So I think it's actually quite a tricky and long-winded process for someone, including the care home or the local authority, to step in at that point and have power of attorney. So I know, I hear what you say, but I think there's quite a lot of entrapment within the legal system. And you know, it's quite a tricky one, because if I go on to second homes, there's this kind of almost class system of whether you've got a caravan or a second home. So is it brick built or is it a caravan? And I do think, you know, that some of those that are genuine second homes serve a purpose, and those people do come down and spend money on a regular basis. Those that aren't genuine second homes, where they're left empty for a long period of time, I can certainly understand taking action on those.
Thank you.
Just to make it clear, the holiday sites won't be charged a premium. They're not charged because we don't want to bring them in as homes. So it's only on the actual homes that a premium will be charged.
But that's what I'm saying, is actually I do have a problem with that, because some of those people that have a home are probably quite high spending, and yet those caravans that are being used as permanent homes that should be holiday homes, and they're not encouraging the spend in the area. You're not getting the turnover of shop spend and attraction spend, etc. They're not actually doing us a great deal. In fact, they're doing us a huge disservice because we don't get the proper tax, as it were, for the services that those people are using, whereas the second homeowners, that genuine second homeowners that come down and spend in the restaurants and the pubs and the shops, etc., are, and they're going to be using our system quite lightly.
Thank you. Councillor Baldock.
Yeah, just to clarify, just because they're not being charged a premium doesn't mean to say they won't be charged council tax in some of these, doesn't it? Because I'm thinking Class G, they could actively market it for sale for 12 months, and then actively market it for let and get 2 years. Or is that a loophole they can use? Or
So,
G&H, yeah.
yeah, I will have to look at that. I would hope not. They should really only get a year.
Yeah.
So you put it up for a sale for a year, you get 12 months. Then we can't prohibit the premium again unless it's been resold. Somebody else has lived in it and it goes up for sale again. The rules for renting is it's got to have been rented out for 6 months, and then if it's put up for rent again, they can then have the premium. If it hasn't been rented or prohibited, if it hasn't been rented for 6 months, we can't prohibit it. So if a landlord put somebody in for 3 months and then said it was up to be let again, they'd have to pay 200% council tax.
Well, they can't say it's for sale. And get
No, we're not going to let people. No.
good.
If it was a chieftain tank, I don't think he'd get past you, Zoe, to be honest. So, there we go. Thank you for your report on your resilience. Members, could I have a proposer for the... Thank you, Councillor Baldock. Seconder, Councillor Wise. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you very much. I'm just going to bring forward the urgent item now, which is... have you all had the opportunity to look at it?
Parking in Marketplace.
Yeah, the parking Marketplace in Court Street, which is in the capable hands of Martin Cassell, who's online with us.
Thank you, Chair. Hope you can all hear me.
There's no funds.
So, first of all, apologies for it being an urgent item and it only coming fairly late in the day. Some new information's come forward, and we felt that the committee needed to understand that prior to considering the JTB minute recommendations. Thanks go to the chair of this committee and the chair of Community and Leisure for agreeing for the item to come forward. The report is absolutely not a measure of not recognising the concerns that Faversham Town Council have in regards to parking in Faversham, but what it does do is suggest that the recommendation in JTB made to this committee is referred back to JTB for further discussion following some recent new information. And the reason being is that makes part of the recommendations from JTB not deliverable at the current time, and obviously would commit this council to potentially some additional resource or budget that hasn't been agreed at the moment. What it does do is suggest that
It won't be
officers...
now, will it? The budget.
Sorry. What it does do is suggest that officers engage with the Faversham Town Council Working Group, which was part of the recommendation, because we feel there's probably an alternative method in terms of reinstating some of the traffic regulation orders in and around the town centre there that would partially solve some of the problems being there. Obviously, as with any traffic regulation order, that would need to have some consultation before going to JTB for approval. So the recommendation is to approve the JTB minutes apart from minute 433 and to refer that one back to the next JTB meeting for further information that's detailed in the report. Happy to take questions, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson, please.
No questions. I suppose a comment I probably should have declared an interest. I am also a member of Faversham Town Council and obviously the ward member, one of the ward members listed. But this is an entirely sensible suggestion. It is the situation as it is intolerable to the businesses and residents of the town centre. And if we can do anything to progress that, be very positive. And I agree with Martin. Actually, the simpler solution will move us forward significantly and quickly. And so we can do that whilst we work on the longer term projects, and that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer, please.
All I was going to say is I was going to propose a recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. What is it we're asking? Sorry, I haven't seen this. It's so late. What is it we're asking JTB to actually do in a nutshell?
So we're recommending 433 returns to JTB because they have asked us to spend money. We're not committing to that.
But what solution are we expecting JTB to come up with?
So Martin's proposal is to reinstate the TROs for the double yellow lines.
That sounds sensible. Yeah, that's fine. I agree with that.
Thank you. So, members, can we agree to note and approve the JTB subject to the amendment?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. And the final item on the agenda, item 15. Actually, should we have taken a vote on that, Robin? Yeah, do I need to take a vote on that one? On the amendment 2. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Right, members, we just need to do item 14, which is 432, the proposed extension of the double yellow lines at Atley Way, Milton Regis. Noted? Yep, agreed. Thank you. And finally, item 15, which is the forward decisions plan. For noting. Yeah, come on, Councillor Boyd.
Just referring back to the comments way at the start of the meeting about the Tenham Conservation Area, will appear on this at the appropriate time, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, could we get a note circulated when that might be afterwards on the Tenham one, so we.
Councillor Baldock.
Yeah, as a heritage champion, I have asked that it's been confirmed that we will do another heritage listing this year. I've asked if we can put in place a process to fast track it. If there's something that we think is an item of heritage at risk, rather than have to wait for the next annual list, but it'd be but there'd be a fast track process that would involve councillors. So hopefully, I hope that would be able to come back at a future meeting not too far away.
Thank you. Councillor Bonney.
Yeah, I think before Christmas we were asked to, but I don't remember it coming up in committee, about brownfield sites, our brownfield register, which is done through the working group. I don't recall it coming forward, but there are a number of sites that I think should be considered. I know it's usually done annually before Christmas, but I think it's probably about the right time to be thinking about those. if that can be shoehorned in at a suitable time.
Thank you. Councillor Worcester.
Thank you, Chair. On the conservation reviews, I'd also like to highlight that a while ago, the conservation review for the dock area, Bluetown area of Sheerness was mooted about as well. I haven't heard anything coming back, but I may be looking at the wrong areas, but I'd like reassurance that that is also thought about at some point in the future, please.
Yep, thank you. Right, thank you, members, for your indulgence this evening. Another night away from your families and doing what you'd rather be doing, I know. Safe trip back, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you.